He was raised by Saturday morning cartoons. Posters from TV shows enveloped his room because he wanted to be the villain. The TV said, if you didn't think like the heroes do, you were different, change your mind because they'll be coming after you. Your free thinking has expired and there's no way to click renew, they'll call you evil and enemy. Dark side and doomsday too, and he loved it. So he was the loner. Picked on at school where he had no headquarters, not welcome in any group. There were lines and clear borders. The kids treated him like he had every type of disorder. He was like a mutant. So he wanted to rule his own island like Magneto did, where he could run away from all those mean school kids because even he could tell that somehow he deserved better than this. But at home, his dad reminded him that heroes don't exist. So the only option was to be heartless to survive because his dad would beat him like a drum every single time, over and over and over again. Never seeing the repercussions back then, his son was just a Dr. Jekyll who knew he had to hide till he could become a villain strong enough to deprive happiness from those who never helped him out or even tried. Until that time came, he had to deal with what he got. Contemplated daddy's hatred, stayed up at night and thought, why was Batman so ungrateful that his parents were shot? Suck it up, Bruce Wayne. You're better off this way. And for some reason, he could never connect with Superman. Though he too felt the S carved in his chest, it stood for suffering, a scar. That he did his best to hide behind his emotion-proof vest, so he buried concepts of love that his dad put to rest. And ideas of friendship his school didn't express, and found wisdom. He found wisdom in a ballpoint pressed to the suicide note on his desk. He signed it. Let the teardrops dry and define it. Gave up on happiness. He knew he'd never find it. And so he walked away from a home he couldn't bear and past the school that let him taste the meaning of despair. Man, he jumped off the bridge. He wasn't even scared. Because he was a villain now. He was a villain now. He killed every chance for his life to be repaired, and you had all those kids who made fun of him everywhere, and his father sitting at home in his chair without a care, and the cigarette smoke filling the air. So who do you think is the real villain? We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a revolution. It was found in a tin time capsule tucked away under the bed right next to nostalgia, old photographs and what ancestors said. Have you ever inhaled the words of a grandmother as she watches all the pain unfold on TV screens where every broadcast is the same? Politicians spewing nonsense, riot police taking aim. She curses oppression as her memories come out to play their games. Flashback. Flashback to her only son. How they took him away. No money to buy bread and no receipts to return the shame of not having a country that would listen to what the people say. Have you ever inhaled the calamities in her hands? It chokes like tear gas and stings like police brutality in a hollow shell of your own land. So the people take to the streets, gripping their flags and their discontent. Today there is no need to ask where the freedom fighters went. And they're fine with your water cannons because they asked for a clean slate. They tell tyrants to get in their cars and have those wheels rotate because this is a revolution. A turn in the book of history ready to write new stages. I just wish there wasn't so much blood on these pages. And I think of how it's easy to inspire millions if you give them purpose, because you get tired when they convince you that your existence is worthless. And I apologize for interrupting this broadcast, but the viewers are asleep. They're told they have no purpose and their opinions are theirs to keep. Ideas are called their 2 cents, so they think that thoughts are cheap. An oppressor doesn't have to be a dictator. An oppressor doesn't have to be a dictator sitting in a throne. It can be a mindset that's been planted to alter your comfort zone. So it becomes okay for one human to treat 80 million as his own. Okay for citizens to only see what the government has shown. But some have begun to fight back with spirits that refuse to break. There are screams asking for a better life, and these screams can make a palace shake. Some have begun to wake up. So when the ground underneath your feet starts to change, and barbed wire comes undone, understand where that's coming from. But till then, I'll return you to your normal programming. In the grocery store I visit every once in a while is a cashier who never smiles. She's about my mother's age, with a stone-cold face and a sandpaper personality that rubbed me the wrong way, and I go through this more often than I'd like. Assume the retail store worker isn't satisfied with their life, can't afford to show a smile, can't pretend things are alright, even for a split second. So it seems happiness is too expensive. It's kept locked up in the back of the store. Have a nice day is ironic inside these doors, but I assume too much. My eyes glancing over figures and faces, trying to analyze personalities. I pretend to know a lot more than I actually do. I learned recently that the woman in the grocery store I visit is a human being. She's married, but is unable to have children. My perspective changes, and now I've been wondering what she's been trading for each one of her smiles. Maybe she sees ghosts of children that are lurking in between the aisles. I wonder if there are secrets that she stores inside her lips, and that's why she handles them carefully, in case those secrets slip, like what she thinks of all those kids that come in and out of the store all the time. I wonder if love and envy start to fight in her mind, or if there are stories that she hides. Fables and fairy tales she wishes she could read to a daughter or son late at night, right before they sleep, but instead she just collects those stories in her home. Fake memories of children that she wants to call her own, but I assume too much, trying to read between the aisles, trying to analyze missing smiles, standing in checkout lines, trying to scan inside the minds of people I've never met, as if I'm qualified to find what makes them tick. I've been told recently that this woman is actually content with the path that she's been given, satisfied with where she is despite the smiles she keeps hidden. So what's our excuse? We can all afford to appreciate our lives more. We just have to stop rolling those shopping carts long enough to see what's already inside of them. So as for me, the next time I go to that grocery store, I won't judge that woman for the happiness that isn't seeping from her mouth. I might actually smile a little bit less on my way out, try to understand people's circumstances just a bit more, and respect the ghosts of made-up memories that might be living in that store. I want my grave to be just like my grandfather's, simple, and surrounded with goodbyes that hold memories of laughs and cries, along with prayers from faded eyes, and drenched with the satisfaction that he made something of his time. My grandfather was a different person. You could see history in the smile he had, and the dents of his life got him pretty bad. You'd call them wrinkles. I guess he used to collect them, one for every struggle he survived, inspect them, take the lessons they scream, and inject them, one for every friend that died and left him, and some for the wars, where people were forced to line up against walls, where they learned silence still had a heartbeat, asked to have a staring contest with concrete feet, shuffle, bullet points, bullet points. Bullet points. I try to list everything he went through, but it's tough. And so now I reminisce, but not nearly enough, about the taxi cab driver who taught me lessons I didn't mean to forget. Locked up in the back of my mind in a place I can't detect, so I reflect on memories he gave me that I sprinkled on his grave. Tears aren't meant to be that heavy. Doctors said he should have died years back, but Grandpa had his tricks. So he lived his life pretending that he was never sick, but death lingered in his calendar, waiting to choose its pick until finally he was in the backseat of a car, his soul seeping through the cracks, the hospital too far, fear, sweat, and steering wheel intertwined under my uncle's hands. I don't understand where he got the strength to drive as best he can while that man, his dad, reached the end of his lifespan. I bet that memory is in my uncle's pocket, deep enough for others not to see, but close enough for him to peek at when he needs a dose of reality. I wonder what types of nightmares he must have. See, I've been to the graveyard, and I've seen the stories etched in the eyes of people that he knew who would gracefully sketch images of my grandpa helping them in one way or another. His book was written in ink of gold, so it's tough for me to close the cover. And as my own pages start to flip too quick, till there are no more words to show, and when death taps at my shoulder, telling me I have to go, let him know that I want my grave to be just like my grandfather's, so they look bothered and offer a few words of advice. When you're dead, you can't be a shopper looking around the market for a grave of your choice. So while you've still got breath, while your voltage in your voice, make every step meaningful, because you won't get a second chance, and glance back at times lost and grab your future with your hands and mold it into something you want when it's all said and done. You see, when I'm mixed with dirt like grandfather, like grandson, it'll be too late to ask for a burial the way I think is right. So a question is stapled in my mind, and tombstones make it a bit too tight. It whispers and yells at the same time. What do you want your grave to look like?